Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for another edition of our 10 Weather Impact Show. I'm Meteorologist Aaron White here on our Monday afternoon. It's been a great day so far with plenty of sunshine. Temperatures have warmed up nicely into the 70s after starting off a little bit on the cool side. We've had those temperatures in the 40s to lower 50s. It was nice and cool this morning, but we got the sun shining and we have some great weather in our forecast looking ahead to the rest of today and tomorrow before we see a cool down looking ahead to the rest of the week and also tracking our next chance of rain. So let's go ahead and dive into the forecast as we are talking about some changes coming in here over the course of the next couple of days. But one thing I also want to mention here as we go through the next couple of weeks is there is a comet that you may be able to see with your eyes as we look ahead to the 3rd to 4th week of October. Now, this is actually visible already in the sky before sunrise around 6:30 if you look off to the north and east, but it's not quite bright enough that you can actually see it with your eyes. However, over the next several days, especially as we get closer to October 21st, so that 3rd and even 4th week of October, it's going to switch. It's going to be visible in the evening sky just after sunset by about an hour, and you're going to want to look to the Big Dipper towards that northwestern sky about an hour after sunset, and you're going to be able to faintly see something that looks like a comet, and that's going to be just to the left of the Big Dipper. Again, the hope is that it gets bright enough that you can actually see it with your eyes. However, if you have a smartphone, if you have a DSLR camera that you can do a long exposure on, you'll likely be all ready to see that in a photograph here in the early morning sky before sunrise, and again in the evening sky. This is what you're seeing here on the graphic, October 21st. That's going to be about an hour after sunset. So if you want to mark that on your calendars for the 21st or anytime really after that, the 3rd and 4th week of October is going to be the best time to see that comet. But as we look ahead to the forecast, we are tracking clear skies over the next few nights for that. And we have clear skies already here today. Plenty of sunshine, just a few scattered clouds, and temperatures up into the 70s already. 73 current temperature, and there is a little bit of a breeze. Now, winds have been out of the north anywhere from 5 to 15 miles per hour here today, and seeing those northeasterly winds at 14 right now. And there will still be a bit of a breeze here for the next couple of hours, and then eventually our temperatures will gradually start to cool down here through the 60s and into the 50s later on tonight. We'll see a low right around 50 degrees, so a few of us could dip into the upper 40s here for tomorrow morning. And then also, if you're heading out for the Blue Jackets game here this evening, puck dropping at 7 p.m. Temperatures will be in the upper 60s, cooling down through the 60s later on this evening. Once the game is wrapping up, we'll be in the low 60s to upper 50s later on. Now, as we look at the satellite and radar picture, we're not tracking any systems really building through our area. We have ample sunshine across the state here today. Looking off to the east, though, there is a bigger storm that's actually impacting New England, areas from Washington, D.C. through Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston getting quite a bit of rainfall. Seeing some strong winds as well, and even coastal flooding. And I'll talk more about that system here in a little bit. This is a nor'easter that's been bringing just a lot of heavy rainfall, high winds, and again, coastal flooding is going to be a big impact through at least the early part of tonight. As we talk about our forecast, we are going to be watching a cold front building in here for tomorrow night into Wednesday. It could bring a couple spotty showers, but more likely just going to bring some clouds, and also cooler temperatures are in the forecast here for the middle to end of the week. However, as we look ahead to the weekend, that is our next weather maker, and that's going to build in here late Saturday. Going to bring the chance for a few thunderstorms Saturday evening, and then quite a bit of rain building in here for Saturday night into Sunday. And right now, indications are that we could see anywhere from a ½ an inch to 1 inch of rainfall here across the state. Definitely going to help. It's going to really help improve the drought conditions like we just had with all that rain last week. We had 1 to 3 inches of rainfall across a good part of Ohio. This could be another system that maybe not bringing us as much heavy rainfall, not 2 to 3 inches, but ½ an inch to 1 inch, maybe a little bit more than that. Not out of the question here for, again, Saturday night into Sunday is going to when most of that rain is going to occur. Now, as we look ahead to the 7-day forecast, we're tracking those mid 70s here for today and tomorrow. 75, plenty of sunshine here for your Tuesday. And then that cold front arrives that knocks down our temperatures here into the 60s for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Overnight lows back down into the lower 40s here Friday morning, looking a bit chilly across the area. Low 40s, some upper 30s also possible. And then as we head into the weekend, we got upper 70s in the forecast for Saturday. And then that chance for a few thunderstorms coming in late Saturday, and then rain again in the forecast here as we look ahead to your Sunday. Rain likely across the area. And again, some of the rainfall could be heavy at times with the thunderstorms that we have in the forecast for Saturday evening and Saturday night. But otherwise, not tracking any severe weather, just some good rainfall expected across the area here as we head into the weekend. Now, that's what's happening for the weekend forecast. But right now, as I mentioned, parts of the East Coast are actually dealing with some pretty heavy rainfall and some strong winds. This is a powerful and dangerous nor'easter that is slamming those Atlantic states. And now it's a storm with northeasterly winds that actually push water towards the coast. And today, forecasters say that the mid-Atlantic and New England coastlines are in danger. New York City under a state of emergency, and the Weather Service says the flood risk is in some areas will remain for days.
Nowadays, it's everybody's preparing for the worst and kind of hoping for the best, which is, I guess, really the best way to prepare for it.
And so we are watching that nor'easter very closely. It's causing numerous travel issues. Flight Aware reports that more than 7,000 delays were reported yesterday, and some airports, including New York City and Boston, were some of the hardest hit over the weekend. And we're also watching just what this coastal storm is going to be doing. So let's go ahead and look at that a little bit more detail here. And so let's talk about what a nor'easter actually is. And it's a big storm, a big coastal storm that brings a lot of wind. And like I mentioned, the naming for this is actually due to the direction of that wind coming out of the north and east. So a nor'easter, you get those northeasterly winds around Boston, New York City, down to Washington, D.C. And so you're also talking about some pretty strong winds with the storm system. And this one, it's producing a lot of rain. So you got the rain, you got the wind, you also have that potential for some coastal flooding. Now, we hear a lot about nor'easters, not around this time of year. We hear more about them in the winter time because the other big impact from them is, of course, snow. And depending on where those nor'easters track, if they get really close to the coast, that area of low pressure, then you're talking about some snow further inland into parts of upstate New York, Pennsylvania, and even into Maine. However, sometimes that area of low pressure a little bit further off the coast, bringing that snow into areas around New York City, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and even into Boston. So nor'easters can really pack a punch when they bring in the heavy rain, the heavy snowfall, the high winds as we go through the winter season. But this time around, again, a little too early for that. So this is a rain, wind system, and coastal flooding is going to be the big concern here, at least through tonight, before that system really moves off the coast and things get improving conditions are expected for the northeast as that system eventually will move away. So let's look at the nor'easter, but also happening in this week's Climate Watch report, marine animals along California's central coast are actually dying at record numbers. Here's Carissa Larson.
We're keeping an eye on the climate, and here's what you need to know. There's been a lot of news around the National Guard lately, and now new information shows just how much climate change is shaping the Guard's mission. A Pentagon report found Guard members logged more than 400,000 service days per year over the past decade, responding to hurricanes, wildfires, and other natural disasters. These climate-related deployments have nearly tripled since 2015. The report comes as President Trump seeks to use the Guard for law enforcement, a move governors warn could leave states shorthanded during climate emergencies. Meanwhile, marine animals are dying in record numbers along California's central coast. Nearly 400 sea lions, dolphins, and other animals have been found dead or stranded since June. Scientists say a combination of a deadly bacterial outbreak, toxic algae blooms, and warming waters are devastating marine life and rendering some ocean areas nearly uninhabitable. And finally, asthma inhalers may be contributing to climate change. A new UCLA study found inhalers produce over 2 million metric tons of carbon emissions each year, about the same as 530,000 cars. Most of that comes from metered inhalers that use powerful chemical propellants. But doctors say switching to cleaner devices could help both patients and the planet. That's your Climate Watch. For the latest on climate and environmental news, go to CBSNews.com and follow us on Instagram at CBS News Planet. I'm Carissa Lawson in New York.
And finally today, let's check out some new video. This is actually some stuff that happened over the weekend, and a lot of extensive rainfall that occurred across parts of Arizona into Colorado, kind of those areas that really don't get a lot of rainfall, but they got a lot in a short period of time, and that led to some flooding. The video that you're looking at here, this is from Arizona. Torrential rainfall leading to dangerous flash flooding, and this was the scene as the road was washed out. You can see the rescue of a driver that was actually stranded in those floodwaters on a Sunday morning in New River, Arizona, and crews were able to position the fire engine ladder just for the truck to be able to bring that driver to safety. And right now it's unclear if there were any injuries that were reported in that area during that time with that water rescue, but thankfully they were able to rescue the driver that was stranded with this flooding. And it wasn't just that area that was dealing with the flooding there in Arizona, but other flooding actually occurring across parts of Arizona and also across the border further north into Colorado. More flooding occurred along the area just there in southern Colorado. This was over the weekend. This video that you're looking at, this is Valencio Creek that was taken Saturday afternoon by the La Plata County Sheriff's Office, and a total of 383 homes actually had to be evacuated just because of that river, that creek that was actually just rising from the torrential rainfall. And there were actually reports that rain of 3 to 4, 5 inches of rainfall over those areas. And again, that's all going into that creek and just allowing it to really overflood its banks and causing just a serious situation with those evacuations that were occurring there. And there was an evacuation center that was actually set up at a local high school. And the sheriff's office in that area actually deployed 10 deputies to help assist with some of those evacuations. So unfortunately, concerning situation that's happening with the heavy rainfall across Arizona, parts of Colorado, southern Utah, and even the southeastern part of California. And again, those areas are, that's kind of desert area, so they don't get a lot of rainfall throughout the year, but they got a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time, causing some of that flooding there that you saw in both of those videos, again, in Arizona and Colorado. Now, thankfully, we're not dealing with anything like that here. No flooding in our forecast. We have some rain in our forecast, though, as we look ahead to the weekend. And coming up later on this evening, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz will be in with an update on the rain and the rest of the forecast. So that'll do it for us here today for the 10 Weather Impact Show. And like I mentioned, Jerry will be in with another update on the rain. So until then, you can catch more news and weather online, as always, at 10tv.com.